In the forgotten hamlet of Hollow Vale, nestled deep in a valley where the mist clung to the earth like a second skin, there stood an ancient willow tree. Its gnarled branches drooped over a crumbling stone well, the kind of place people whispered about in campfire stories. They said the well was cursed, that it swallowed light and sound, that if you stared too long into its depths, something would stare back. But 16-year-old Clara, new to the Vale after her mother's sudden death, didn't believe in ghost stories. She believed in answers. Clara's mother had been an archaeologist, obsessed with forgotten histories. Her final journal entry, found tucked in the lining of her coat, mentioned Hollow Vale and a cryptic phrase. A lantern that burns with stolen time. Grieving. Restless. Clara came to the Vale chasing that clue. The townsfolk gave her wary glances, spoke in hushed tones. They warned her not to go near the well, but warnings only sharpened her resolve. If her mother had died searching for this lantern, then Clara would finish what she started. One moonless night, flashlight in hand, journal in her coat, Clara crept out beneath the willow. The wind had stopped. The leaves hung still, whispering against one another in a breeze she couldn't feel. As she leaned over the stone lip of the well, a strange pressure settled over her chest. She shined the flashlight downward. Nothing. Just darkness. Thick. Endless. Swallowing everything. Then, a flicker. Deep below, a golden pulse. Faint, but steady, like a heartbeat. Clara tied a rope around the tree and climbed in. The walls were slick. Her boots scraped against damp stone. The farther she descended, the colder it became. Her breath turned to mist. Her fingers went numb. At the bottom, there was no water, only rock, and one object, resting in the silence. A brass lantern. Its flame danced inside, though there was no fuel. The light was warm, alive. It seemed to move with her breath, and when her hand touched the brass, the cavern vanished. Clara stood in Hollow Vale, but not as she knew it. The houses were pristine. Lamplight flickered across cobbled streets. People moved past her in old-fashioned dress, waistcoats, corsets, top hats. A world from long ago, somehow alive. A man approached. His face was pale, his posture stiff, his eyes lifeless. "You've taken the lantern," he said, his voice dry as leaves. "Now you owe time." Clara blinked. "What are you talking about?" "The lantern burns with the moments it steals," he said, pointing toward her chest. She looked down. Her skin had grown translucent. Her veins shimmered gold beneath the surface. "It takes from you," he whispered, "to light the past. Return it to the well, or you'll fade." She turned to run, but the village shifted. Streets bent in impossible directions. Homes twisted into different eras. The people watched her, their faces flickering like candle flames. With every step, the lantern grew heavier, and her body lighter. The journal slipped from her hand, pages fluttering open, and there it was, a passage she hadn't seen before. Her mother's handwriting. "The lantern shows the truth, but the price is your own." Time unraveled. Visions came, some hers, some not. A couple meeting in secret near the well. Flames consuming the village church. A woman sobbing as she dropped the lantern into the darkness. Each moment drained her further. Her thoughts scattered, like leaves in a storm. She saw her mother, standing beside the well, fear in her eyes, and something else. a quiet resolve. "Clara," the voice echoed. "Let it go." But she couldn't. The lantern was her only connection, her only proof. She clutched it tighter, and the visions grew sharper. She saw what really happened. Centuries ago, the villagers had made a pact, trading years of their lives to preserve their town, to hold on to a moment in time. But the lantern's hunger grew. It began taking more than they gave, until there was nothing left to give. Her mother had unsealed it, and now, Clara was its next offering. She could barely stand. Her fingers were nearly invisible, her breath shallow. The lantern burned brighter, consuming her. The ghosts closed in, pale, flickering forms whispering in unison. "Stay. Join us. Be eternal." "No," she gasped. With the last of her strength, Clara hurled the lantern into the well. A blinding light burst upward, and then silence. The village dissolved. She woke beneath the willow, alive, whole. The well, just a well. Clara left Hollow Vale days later, her mother's journal pressed to her chest. She never spoke of what she saw, but some nights she dreamed of golden light, of faces she didn't know, but somehow missed. And sometimes, when the room was quiet, she caught herself watching a flame, a candle, a lighter, and wondering if something was watching back. The villagers filled in the well that spring. They planted flowers over it, but nothing ever grew. And on moonless nights, if you stand beneath the willow, you might see a glow rising from the earth. Faint, steady, waiting.